Welcome to Games from Folktales, a podcast that mixes historical research and tabletop role-playing settings. I'm your host, Timothy Ferguson. This week, a continuation of our series of excerpts from Kunz's Curious Lore of Precious Stones. This week, just two stones, the diamond and the emerald. Neither of them is mined in Europe in 1220. There used to be an emerald mine in the Alps that was used by the Romans, and no one knows where it is. Diamonds are believed to come from the Far East. So let's dive in with a quote from Kunz. The virtues ascribed to the diamond are almost entirely traceable either to its unconquerable hardness or to its transparency and purity. It was therefore thought to bring victory to the wearer, endowing him with superior strength, fortitude, and courage. Marbodus tells us it was a magic stone of great power and served to drive away nocturnal spectres. For this purpose it should be set in gold and worn on the left arm. For St. Hildegard, the sovereign virtue of the diamond was recognized by the devil, who was a great enemy of this stone because it resisted his power by day and by night. Ruisus calls it a gem of reconciliation, as it enhanced the love between a husband and wife. Cardano takes a more pessimistic view of the qualities of the diamond. He says, it's believed to make the wearer unhappy. Its effects, therefore, are the same upon the mind as that of the sun upon the eye, for the latter dims rather than strengthening the sight. The diamond indeed renders fearless, but there is nothing that contributes more to our safety than prudence and fear, and it is therefore better to fear. The diamond was often associated with lightning, and was sometimes believed to owe its origin to the thunderbolt. In the Talmud we read of a gem, supposed to have been a diamond, which was worn by the high priest. The stone served to show the guilt or innocence of one accused of any crime. Were the accused guilty, the stone would grow dim, but if he were innocent, it would shine more brilliantly than ever. This quality is also alluded to by Sir John Mandeville, who wrote, "It happens often that a good diamond loses its virtue by sin, and for incontinence of him who bears it." The Arabians and Persians, as well as the modern Egyptians, agree in attributing to the diamond a wonderful power to bring good fortune, and Rabbi Benoni, a mystic of the 14th century, treating of its magic virtues, asserts that it produces somnambulism, and as a talisman so powerfully attracts the planetary influences that it renders the wearer invincible. It was also said to provoke a state of spiritual ecstasy. An alchemist of the same century, Pierre de Boniface, asserted the diamond made the wearer invisible. A curious fancy, prevalent in regard to many stones, attributed sex to the diamond, and it is therefore not surprising that these stones were also supposed to possess reproductive powers. In this connection, Sir John Mandeville wrote, "They grew together male and female, and are nourished by the dew of heaven, and they engender commonly, and bring forth small children that multiply and grow all the year. I have oftentimes tried the experiment that if a man keep them with a little of the rock, and water them with May dew often, they shall grow every year, and the small will grow great." According to a widespread superstition, the talismanic power of the diamond was lost if the stone were acquired by purchase. Only when received as a gift could its virtues be depended on. The same belief is noted in regard to turquoise. The spirit dwelling in the stone was thought to take offence at the idea of being bought and sold, and was said to depart from the stone, leaving it nothing more than a bit of senseless matter. If, however, the diamond or turquoise was offered as a pledge of love or friendship, the spirit was quite willing to transfer its good offices from one owner to the next. Aristotle said that no one except Alexander ever reached the place where diamond is produced. This valley, connected with the land Hind, the glance cannot penetrate to its greater depths, and serpents are found there, the like of which no man hath seen, and upon which no man can gaze without dying. However, this power endures only so long as the serpents live, for when they die, the power leaves them. In this place summer reigns 6 months, and winter for the same length of time. Now, Alexander ordered that an iron mirror should be brought and placed at the spot where the serpents dwelt, and when the serpents approached, their gaze fell upon their own image in the mirror, and this caused their death. Thereupon Alexander wished to bring out the diamonds from the valley, but no one was willing to undertake the descent. Alexander, therefore, sought the counsel of wise men, and they told him to throw a piece of flesh into the valley, and this he did, and the diamonds became attached to the flesh, and the birds of the air seized the flesh and bore it out of the valley, and then Alexander ordered his people to pursue the birds, and to pick up what fell from the flesh. Of the many medicinal virtues attributed to the diamond, one of the most noteworthy is as an antidote for poisons. The belief in its efficacy in this respect was coupled with the idea that the stone itself was a deadly poison. The origin of this latter fancy must be sought in the tradition that the place where the diamonds were generated in the land where it is 6 months day and 6 months night, was guarded by venomous creatures who, in passing over the stones, were wounded by the sharp points of the crystals and thus imbued the stones with some of their venom. The attribution of curative properties, in the case of poisoning, arose from an association of ideas. The diamond was also believed to afford protection from plague or pestilence, and as a proof of its powers in this direction was found the fact that when the plague first attacked the poorer classes, it spared the rich, who could afford to adorn themselves with diamonds. Naturally, in common with other precious stones, the brilliant gem was supposed to cure many diseases. Marbodus tells us it was even a cure for insanity. Note that could be some sort of demonic or fairy ward. An Austrian nobleman, who for a long time had not been able to sleep without having terrible dreams, was immediately cured by wearing a small diamond set in gold on his arm, so that the stone came in contact with his skin. The fact that in this case, as in many others, the stone was required to touch the skin proves the effect supposed to be produced was not altogether magical, but in the nature of a physical emanation from the stone or from the body of the wearer. We are told that when Pope Clement VII was seized in his last illness, in 1534, his physicians resorted to powders composed of various precious stones. In the space of 14 days, they are asserted to have given the Pope 40,000 ducats worth of these stones, a single dose costing as much as 3,000 ducats. The most costly remedy of all was a diamond administered him at Marseilles. Unfortunately, this expenditure was to no avail. Indeed, according to our modern science, the remedies might have sufficed to end the Pope's life without the help of the disease. Here's a chance for Magi to make some money. If they know people are going to be grinding up stones and feeding them into a Pope, the stones only need to last for a couple of hours, so you can create them with Criotarum spells, swap out the original stones, keep the original stones, profit. The old fancy that the diamond grew dark in the presence of poison is explained by the Italian physician Ganelli as caused by minute and tenuous particles which emanated from the poison, impinged on the surface of the diamond, and, unable to penetrate into its dense mass, accumulated on the surface, thus producing a superficial discoloration. So, suggested shape and material bonuses. In Ars Magica 5th edition, diamond has a bonus of 5 against demons. I'd suggest bonuses of 5 against resistance to damage, to cure or cause poisoning, to detect poisons, a bonus of 3 on preventing plague, and a bonus of 2 on curing minds. The Emerald. To quote Quince again, the emerald was believed to foreshadow future events. We do not learn whether visions were actually seen in the stone, as they were in spheres of rock crystal or beryl, or whether the emerald endowed the wearer with a supernatural foreknowledge of what was to come. Either way, it's the vision's flaw. As a revealer of truth, the stone was the enemy of all enchantments and conjurations, hence it was greatly favoured by magicians who found all their arts of no avail if an emerald were in their vicinity when they began to weave their spells. That's what Kuntz says. I'm not sure what he means there. Magicians favour it because it destroys their spells? One idea, of course, would be that if this is true, in the middle of a wizard war, you could smuggle one into the lab of an enemy wizard, hoping to cause lab accidents. To this supernatural power inherent in the stone, enabling it to quicken the prophetic faculty, may be added many other virtues. If anyone wished to strengthen his memory or become an eloquent speaker, he was sure to attain his end by securing possession of a fine emerald. And not only the ambitious, but also those whose hearts had been smitten by the shafts of Cupid, found this stone invaluable as an auxiliary, for it revealed the truth or falsity of a lover's oaths. Strange to say, however, the emerald, although commonly assigned to Venus, was often regarded as the enemy of sexual passion. So sensitive was the stone believed to be in this respect that Albertus Magnus relates that King Bela of Hungary possessed an exceptionally valuable emerald set in a ring, and that when he embraced his wife while wearing this ring on his finger, the stone broke into 3 parts. After stating that the emerald sharpens the wits and quickens the intelligence, Cardano declares that it made people more honest, for dishonesty is nothing but ignorance, stupidity, and ill nature. The emerald sharpened the wits, conferred riches, and had the power to predict the future, but to evoke this latter virtue it must be put under the tongue. It also strengthened the memory. Light-coloured stones were esteemed the best, and legend told that they were bought from nests of griffins. I'd just like to note there that I think Kuntz is incorrect. I think that agates were believed to come from nests of griffins, but moving on. A curious quid pro quo appears in a 15th century treatise on gems, written in French. Here, in a list of engraved gems, suitable for use as amulets, we read, "If you find a dromedary engraved on a stone with hair flowing over its shoulders, this stone will bring peace and concord between man and wife." The original Latin text read, "If you find Andromeda on a stone with hair flowing over her shoulders, etc. The emerald, according to Damageron, was to be engraved with a scarab beneath which was a standing figure of Isis, and the gem, when completed, was to be pierced longitudinally and worn as a brooch. The fortunate owner of this talisman was then to adorn himself and members of his family, and a consecration having been pronounced, he was assured he would see the glory of the stone granted it by God. Possibly this meant that the stone would become luminous. The emerald was employed as an antidote for poisons and poison wounds, as well as against demoniacal possession. If worn on the neck, it was said to cure the centenarian fever and epilepsy. Alluding to its powers as an antidote for poison, Russus asserts that if the weight of 80 barleycorns of its powder were given to one dying from the effects of poison, the dose would save his life. The Arabs prized emeralds highly for this purpose, and Abner Zohar states that, having once taken a poison herb, he after placed an emerald in his mouth and applied another to his stomach, whereupon he was entirely cured. It speaks not little for the beauty of the emerald that so good a judge of precious stones as Pliny should have pronounced this gem to be the only one that delighted the eye without fatiguing it, adding that when vision was wearied by gazing intently at other objects, it gained renewed strength by viewing an emerald. So general in the early centuries of our era was the persuasion that the pure green hue of emeralds aided eyesight, that gem engravers are said to have kept some of them on their work tables so as to be able to look at the stones from time to time and thus relieve eye strain caused by their close application to a delicate task. Celius says that a cataplasm made of emeralds was of help to those suffering from leprosy. A cataplasm is a poultice. He adds that if it was pulverized and taken in water, it would check hemorrhage. They were especially commended to be used as amulets hung on the necks of children, as they were believed to prevent epilepsy. If, however, the violence of the disease was such that it would not be overcome by the stone, the latter would break. Hermes Trismegistus said that emerald cures ophthalmia and hemorrhages. Hermes must have had a special preference for the stone, since his treatise on chemistry is said to have been inscribed on sheets of emerald. Telephasci, 1242 AD, believed the emerald was a cure for hematitis, that's coughing up blood, and for dysentery if worn over the liver of the person affected. To cure gastric troubles, it was laid upon the stomach. Further, the wearer was protected from the attacks of venomous creatures, and evil spirits were driven from the place where emeralds were kept. Suggested shape and material bonuses. Ars Magica 5 gives Calm 2, Insight Level Passion 4, Snakes and Dragonkind 7. I'd suggest adding Study 3, Curing the Eye 3, Banishing Demons 3, and Preventing Spellcasting 7. But your saga may vary.